Thank you, Rosemary, for being today's webinar moderator. We really appreciate it. And again, if anybody has questions throughout today's training, please feel free to let us know by typing into the chat box if you are on the webinar. I will also periodically ask if there are folks on the phone line that also have questions. Well, again, thank you so much for joining Yo Disabled and Proud. Today's presentation, Making Disability History Week a Reality at Your School, is being presented by some youth that have been a part of the Disability History Week campaign in California since its inception in 2009. I want to introduce you to Jonny Vallin. Jonny Vallin is a Yo member from the Los Angeles area and a former Yo volunteer at the Independent Living Center in Downey, SCRS. Sara Moussavian is a former Yo volunteer as well from the Silicon Valley Independent Living Center and is currently in San Francisco but is from Palo Alto, California. Caron, also a former Yo volunteer but is now serving on our Youth Advisory Council, is with us from Hayward, and she is an active Disability Action Network for Youth member at her local Independent Living Center, Krill and Hayward Community Resources for Independent Living. And lastly, we have Yo Disabled and Proud's youth advocate, Kirk Aranda, who is also joining us from our office here in Sacramento. I'm Christina Mills, the Deputy Director of the California Foundation for Independent Living Centers, and I'm very excited to be the adult ally presenting with the youth here today. We're going to focus on three major points of making Disability History Week a reality at your school during today's presentation. The presentation will focus on the history of the campaign. I know we have some out-of-state folks joining us today that wanted to know a little bit about the background. We will also go over campaign strategies and tools that the youth organizers used throughout the campaign and continue to use today. And the most important part, how the Yo members in today's webinar training are actually making it happen or have been making it happen since Disability History Week was passed in California. So starting with our background, Yo Disabled and Proud started in early 2009, and by the fall of 2009, we decided to organize a two-day organizing summit for youth only, up in Portola, California at a fully accessible camp and ropes course known as Grizzly Creek Ranch. We did it purposefully. The weekend that we did it was National Service Day, and it was a way for us to engage young members of the community in national service on a topic that they cared about. For years, we had been hearing that youth really wanted to know why disability history wasn't being taught in their schools. And many of us on today's call are also Youth Leadership Forum alumni from California. And for many years, we had talked about how we were very fortunate to go to YLF and learn about disability history for the first time, but how we wanted to change the system to make sure disability history was a part of the curriculum in the K-12 system. So I was very excited to be working with the youth who really made that happen here in California. The summit activities at Grizzly Creek included Disability History Week, or Disability History exercises. So we did different activities to make sure that the youth there all had a basic understanding of some of the disability history highlights in our movement. We held critical discussions on why youth believe disability history should be taught in schools. And the reason for that was we had folks there from all over the state, but youth that knew some about disability history, some that knew a lot, and some that knew very little. So those critical discussions among a youth audience was very important. And we had youth presenters come in and talk about different historical points that were important to them as well. We also talked about how to write a bill. If we were going to try to get Disability History Week passed by the legislature, how do you write a bill? We also drafted sample support letters that youth could take back to their community to gain support. And we developed example petitions that supporters could sign. We also did, we organized legislative visits back in members' district communities, as well as encouraged people during our annual Capitol Action Day to do visits here at the Capitol. And most importantly, I said at the beginning, Grizzly Creek Ranch included a fully accessible ropes course. It is important whenever working with youth, as many of you know, to always make time for fun and entertainment. After we left the summit, thousands of petition signatures were gathered, hundreds of support letters were signed, dozens of school boards, conferences, and classroom presentations were given. We had folks going to the Asian Pacific Islander Conference and presenting on disability history to that population of people. We had presentations happening at the Post-Secondary Education for Youth Conference. We had the Community of Practice Conference. We were able to do a presentation there as well. All of those things led to youth getting support to get the resolution and the legislation essentially signed in California. One of the really important and pivotal points of the campaign was also being able to pilot Disability History Week at a high school in Marin County, Drake High School. At the time of the start of the campaign, we had a young person who had a very good relationship and was taking a leadership role at her high school, and had the administration's ear when it came time to ask whether they could try to do a Disability History Week for the first time to show others across the state how beneficial it could be for students with and without disabilities in the school system. The bill language was also reviewed and put into final format. Fortunately, here at CFILC, we have a public policy director, and he was able to assist the youth in making sure that the language was appropriate, so that when we went to shop the bill in the legislature, which means try to find a sponsor, that we had appropriate bill language that we could give them to look at and review. We finally secured a legislative author, which I'm going to talk a little bit more about on the next slide. And we also had youth attend hearings that were held in the Capitol to pass Disability History Week. So securing our legislative sponsor, this is a really important part, and I'm not sure how other states have done it. I should also mention that California was, I think, the 23rd state to pass Disability History Week. So we weren't the first. West Virginia was the first. But in our experience, securing our legislative sponsor was really important. And 2009 was a really difficult year in California because we've had many rough years financially with our state budget. So we weren't exactly sure if it was going to be an easy sell to get somebody to sponsor Disability History Week, given all of the dilemmas that California was facing. But it was really exciting when we finally got to that point. And the things that we took into consideration when finding our legislative champion was making sure that we had a relationship with that office, both at the Capitol and on a district level, seeing whether or not that legislator had a disability community connection, knowing if that legislator had a positive or a semi-positive disability legislative track record. Were they voting on things that we would want them to support, things of that nature? And then, did that legislator have a leadership position on a committee that our bill would likely be heard in? It also meant educating the legislator about Disability History Week and their staff, because legislators are really busy, and we knew that we would be spending a lot of our time educating the staff member in that office to work with us and make sure that disability history was actually being interpreted the correct way and not in a condescending or negative way that sometimes we see disability history depicted. So we got really, really lucky because in our situation, the staff member who worked in our sponsor's office was a former Disability Rights California staff member. So he knew disability, he was all about disability culture and disability identity, and was a big supporter of us making sure that this bill got passed. So we were really fortunate to get Senator then Assembly Member Jim Bell Jr. to sponsor the bill, and to have Eric Gilbert, his staff member, working with us throughout the life of our bill in the Capitol. And then it was also really important to have that relationship with the staff because it meant knowing in advance when our bill would be heard in hearing or what were the next steps for our bill. And Eric was really a wonderful person and ally to be able to connect with and keep us on top of our schedule and really work with us to make sure that we knew plenty of time in advance when the hearings were going to be held so that youth could be mobilized on days that they weren't in school or after school or ways that were most convenient to get youth to the Capitol to testify on the bill that they really cared about. I want to take a moment to show you a short clip that we developed during our two-day summit at Grizzly Creek. This was part of our campaign strategy to get people to support the bill, and we were able to show this little film at different conferences and at school board meetings, which really, I think, helped us pave the way to get disability history in California. I'm going to go ahead and ask Rosemary to start the video.
This video was filmed at the 2010 Yo Organizing Disabled and Proud Disability History Campaign Summit Yo, held at the Sierra Health Foundation Grizzly Creek Camp. Youth are sitting in front of a disability history display. Interspersed are photos of youth at the Yo Summit, testifying at the state capitol, marching for disability history at Disability Capital Action Day, speaking at rallies, receiving awards, and having fun.
Why should disability history be taught in schools?
I think disability history should be taught in schools so students with disabilities and future generations don't go through the same types of teasing that we have while we were growing up.
Because I believe every person with a disability should know about their own history, and it'll also educate other people to learn about the history as well, so nothing will be left out.
Well, I think it should be taught because when I first participated in YLF 2 years ago, I had no clue about our history. And one example I can say was when I was in high school, I would be very ashamed of my disability. And 2 years ago when I participated in YLF as a staff, I learned a lot of our history, and also I came out really changed. And yeah, that's what I think it is.
Disability history should be taught in schools because whether you have a disability or not, if students are able to learn about the leadership and efforts and achievements of the disability community and how we received our rights, I think that a lot of there will be a decrease in discrimination, hopefully, and the stigma towards the disability community.
Disability history is important to me because it gives, allowing me to show this to people, gives me a sense of comfort for where I belong, what I'm a part of, a stronger sense of what my community really is, and it also kind of gives a sense of validation rather than, poor me. I think it also will give other people a chance to see me as an individual rather than part of another world, someone part of another world, and I think that's great.
I think disabilities should be taught in school because other people about disabilities and they will really know how to handle people with. Thank you, disabilities.
Okay, well, disability history should be taught in schools because it's important information that needs to be taught to people without disabilities and people with disabilities. It's just like every other history lesson that's been taught in school. If it's important, it should be in the history books.
Disability history is important to me because the fights that we've gone through or that other people have gone through for our rights, it's part of me. It's a part of who I am. And without them having done that, I wouldn't have been able to be who I am today. It is also important to me that it be taught in schools because I think it's important that people know, that I know and other people with disabilities and without know that it's part of who we are. It's part of our culture, it's part of our community, and they teach civil rights from almost every other aspect, but ours.
There is such a stigma with the greater public that we are helpless and voiceless and that we need them to do everything for us. If disability history is taught in schools, then we can show other people and ourselves that we are able to get changed by ourselves. Not to mention, it strengthens our identity as a community.
This video is dedicated to California Youth with Disabilities who organized the past Disability History Week, ACR 162, Bell 2010. California is the 24th state in America to pass such a law or resolution. Special thanks to Sara Moussavian, Monique Garcia, Raul Carrell, Ali Cannington, Anya Fatau, Cesar Saborn, Destiny Woods, Kevin Kaufman, Jaquay Bryant, James Henderson, Catherine Keller. We would like to thank our funders and sponsors. California Health Incentives and Improvement Project at San Diego State University. California Department of Rehabilitation. California State Independent Living Council. Consumer Attorneys of California. And Sierra Health Foundation.
Wonderful, thank you. I hope you all enjoyed the video. It's a wonderful little vignette to show, and it actually reminded me that I should post it up on the Yo Disabled and Proud Facebook page this week to remind teachers to register to teach Disability History Week. We're only 2 weeks away. So again, I want to reintroduce Sara, Jonny, and Jamie. Sara, would you mind giving a little bit of your opinion about why disability history is important to be taught and how it's different today than it was back in 2009 when we were at the summit?
Sure. Thank you, Christina. I feel students should be taught disability history in school because a lot of different important events happened in the disability rights movement that students should know about, just like students learn about the events which happened during the women's rights movement. Over the years, I definitely think the school has been accomplished by the number of schools that have, the number of students that have learned about disability history, but I definitely still think there's work to be done.
Thank you, Sara. Jamie, do you want to share your opinion?
Sure. Thanks, Christina. So I feel disability history should be taught in school so students know, like, disabled people can achieve, like, great things too. Versus, but people think of us, like, equally and, like, as the average person and not just, like, sitting at home and, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that just because you have a disability. So that's why I feel it's important to teach students.
Great. And Jonny, what about you?
Yes, thank you, Christina. So when I attended youth leadership forum for students with disabilities, it was the first time, I heard about something like a green log or the San Francisco things that happened during the Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act. I had no idea people with disabilities also had a civil rights movement, like African Americans and like Indians fighting the women's rights. And I thought by the article, I was motivated to learn more and to pass on the knowledge I knew to, other people.
Great. Thank you all three for sharing your impressions and opinions. It's very obvious, and I know you all three work very hard on the campaign, but I know that the three of you are very passionate about this topic, so I appreciate you sharing your opinions with the audience. And, this webinar is going to be archived, so I'm sure hundreds of people will also appreciate hearing your opinions even after today. And just to recap, I want to point out that, again, the campaign began in 2009, but it was passed by the California legislature 1 week after the 20th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. And we really tried hard to get it passed the same week, but like I said earlier, it was a tough budget year. So we were really excited when it did finally get passed. It was the only bill that passed out of committee unanimously throughout that year. So it was a very exciting moment for both the youth and the staff here at Yo Disabled and Proud who worked on it. So the bill recognizes the second week of October annually as Disability History Week in California. And I should mention that not every state acknowledges it during October. Some of them have other months that honor Disability History Week, and some of them have Disability History Months. So nationally, October is also National Disability Employment Awareness Month, and it's focused on employment and people with disabilities getting jobs. So we felt like it was already a very important month in our community, so identifying the second week of October just as Disability History Week was really important and well thought out by the youth when we came up with that week. But again, I'd like to say that, our motto at Yo Disabled and Proud is nothing about youth without youth, and there were over 40 youth a part of the initial campaign to pass the campaign to pass Disability History Week in California, and it really wouldn't have been possible without them. I want to point out before we get into the implementation and the tools that we're using to implement Disability History Week, that disability history is not awareness. And sometimes, especially over the last 3 years, we have seen a lot of different organizations and schools try to use disability awareness as a way to celebrate disability history. And there is a wealth of information and resources and curriculum, not a lot of curriculum, but there are lesson plans and curriculum available now on disability history, and it's really important that we use Disability History Week as a week to honor the history of the disability rights movement, because we do have a great deal of history that dates back before the 1800s that, like Jonny mentioned earlier, was really fascinating to him and interesting, especially when he learned about the ugly laws and how people with disabilities were discriminated against in public places just for having a visible disability and being considered what was back then the ugly laws and being fined or jailed because of it. Or Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act and the action that was held in San Francisco that we hold, our community holds the record for the longest sit-in at a federal building. I've linked here to an article from the Ragged Edge magazine, which is a disability-based magazine, that talks about what simulation exercises are. And a lot of times we see that when people are doing disability awareness activities, they're doing a lot of simulation-type exercises. And we just want to point out that to us at Yo Disabled and Proud, that's not really acceptable. And there's a lot of other ways that you can honor Disability History Week and build cultural competency without doing simulation exercises. So you're welcome to check that out at a later time, but I wanted to bring it to your attention. So now I'd like to to move into the organizing tools that some of our organizers on the call have used. And I'd like to start with asking Sara if she could share the experiences she's had in the tools that she used during the campaign. Sara?
Thank you. So for the campaign, I did two things. The first thing I did was I used a letter writing campaign, and then the second one was an online petition. For the letter writing campaign, community members, family, and friends wrote their original letters or used a template which was provided to them to write letters to their legislators expressing their support for Disability History Week. They gave their letters to me, which were then photocopied and given to the legislators who sat on the Human Services Committee by Yo Disabled and Proud, who collected these letters. Then, with regards to the online petition, I did the online petition because I wanted to offer another accessible way for community members to be able to show their support for Disability History Week. So the signatures from this petition were sent to the office of Assemblymember Jim Bell Jr.
Thank you, Sara. And those letters of support were certainly helpful. It really helped to show members of the legislature, like Sara said, that it was a lot more than just those of us in the hearing room that supported Disability History Week. And by having those signatures, that really demonstrated that. Jamie, can you share with us what kind of petition you used and why you chose to use it?
Sure. So basically what I did is I used on-site petitions. So like I went to people in my schools and like the history, and they really seemed to like the idea. So a lot of my classes signed. Then I brought petitions to legislators. And then once they saw that, they really liked it and decided to pass the bill.
Great. Thank you, Jamie. And I just want to make a reminder for those of you on the phone line, we're getting a little bit of background noise, so if you could please mute your phone or hit *7, it would be helpful so that we could continue to hear every presenter. Thank you.
Christina, correction is *6.
Oh, thank you, Rosemary. *6 to mute your phone if you don't have a mute button.
You're welcome.
Thank you. All right, the next slide, I'd like to ask Sara if she could start by going over the tips that she had in making relationships on campuses. I'm sorry? Go ahead, Sara.
Okay. Thank you, Christina. So the first thing I did was I reviewed the list of people who I knew, and I thought about who I would be able to talk to who either knew an educator, knew a teacher, or was a teacher themselves. So I was lucky enough to be in contact with the executive director of my local independent living center, who is married to a science teacher. This helped me a lot because instead of working to begin a relationship with someone, I used a relationship or a connection that I already had with someone and was able to tap into the science teacher through that relationship instead of tapping into the science teacher for a first time. This also helped me because I was able to have a discussion with with the science teacher regarding his experiences and ways that I can support him in the future when he taught disability history in his classroom. this also, the third way that this relationship helped me was that since I already had a connection with Mr. Lopez, I was able to connect with other teachers at his school and work with them in implementing Disability History Week in their classes.
Awesome. And Jamie, what about you?
Wait, hold on. My computer's being really weird. What slide are we on? Sorry. Christina.
Go ahead, Jamie, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Jamie, you're on slide 11.
Okay, I don't see any numbers on the slide. Are we on relationships on school campuses? Okay, so you would want to share Disability History Week resources and materials with the person you're asking. And be prepared to make the ask after you explain what Disability History Week is and why should it be honored at that school. And if you don't get an answer that they ask, when you should follow up, and you want to make sure you always follow up or follow through.
Great. And Jonny, you weren't a part of the campaign when it first started, but you've been a really integral part in making sure that LA County is honoring Disability History Week. Can you share with us what your experiences were like when you tried to get it implemented in LA County for the first time?
Yes, thank you, Christina. So the first time I went back to my old high school, and I had a good relationship with a lot of people there. One of them was the principal. So along with the youth advocate at LCIS, we went and we took a couple of different forms and fact sheets and samples of lesson plans to show the work we could do. However, she felt like there wasn't the right time. She was very supportive of the campaign and what we wanted to do at the high school, but she thought there was no appropriate time to fit in for an assembly or a rally or anything of that sort. But I did not give up. The following year, I went back and I spoke with one of my good teachers who is very involved at the school. He does a lot of the assemblies, and we went and we told him that we wanted to do some in-class presentation, but he had bigger visions and all that, so he told us to he helped us set up an assembly where we were able to teach to 500 students.
That's so cool. Jonny is one of a few youth that is now doing all-school assemblies and getting hundreds of youth involved and educated on disability history. And I think one of the really important points that Jonny just shared with us is that although he first went to the school and asked the principal, and the principal seemed interested but wasn't really the person that could make it happen on campus, Jonny didn't give up, and he ended up going to somebody else on campus that he had a better relationship with and who he knew was in a classroom who really made it happen. And I think that was key because we've heard that a lot of youth go to the school and try to get or offer support to teach disability history, but they don't always get in the first time. And I think it's important to show that it's okay that you don't get in the first time. Sometimes that's going to happen, but you will get in, and it's just a matter of getting to the right person. Jamie has had a lot of experience in getting the school board to support Disability History Week. And she actually has worked in Alameda County to get different school boards to adopt their own Disability History Week for that school district. So Jamie has a couple of school board tips she'd like to share with people. Go ahead, Jamie.
Okay, so first you will want to attend the school board meeting and get to know some of the members. And then second, you would want to fill out a public comment card to educate the school board about disability history at the meeting, or ask that they put you on the next meeting agenda. And third, you would want to ask the school board to support and adopt a local disability week resolution after or during your presentation. Fourth, you would want to send copies to the school after the resolution is adopted. Schools within the district with the letter letting them know where they can get additional information or who they can contact for assistance, and then be available to meet with schools and educate them on what disability history is.
That's cool. And I think, you know, one of the things that I want to point out here is that although the California legislature passed Disability History Week, Jamie and her peers in Hayward from the Disability Action Network for Youth, they were simultaneously at the same time going to their school boards and asking them to adopt their own resolution locally. So for those of you that are out of state and are looking to get Disability History Week into your schools, maybe the first year you spend time getting local school boards to adopt resolutions or bills and not take it to the full legislature. It is an option, and it's something that we wanted to bring forward to let you know that California, we tried a variety of different ways to get it into the classroom, and it worked, and it was successful in many different forms that the youth presented to their schools and school districts and school boards. Thank you, Jamie. So let's move on to getting the disability, the DH word out. Media is a very important part of getting the word out, both at the beginning of the campaign and still as it is implemented. So I'd like to again introduce you to Kirk Aranda, our youth advocate here at Yo Disabled and Proud. Kirk's going to share with us a little bit about the media sources we used and how we used them.
That's right. Thank you so much, Christina. Well, to kickstart DHW back in 2010, 2011, we went through social media since it is such a big force in helping get the word out about the new campaign. Yo ended up working with a media consultant that helped us get an op-ed in a local Sacramento newspaper, the Sacramento Bee, and the article ended up talking about Disability History Week, which is great publicity for the campaign and spread the word. By working with the media consultant also, we secured radio interviews where a couple of DHW members in the Bay Area talked about Disability History Week on youth radio and the National Public Radio, also known as NPR. Some other ways that we've been able to kickstart and spread the word of DHW to the media, and how we still do, is you can also reach the editor of your local newspaper to do a story on DHW. And you can also go to your local independent living center and ask them or any other community organizations to include an article or facts about disability history in their newsletters. This year, though, we would love to encourage everyone to use their personal Facebook pages to post disability history facts during Disability History Week, which we'll be doing on the Yo Facebook page as well, starting on Monday, October 7th, which will be covering California disability history. And then we're going to be continuing the week each and every day. On Tuesday the 8th, we'll be covering educational disability history. Wednesday the 9th will be laws and leaders in history. Thursday the 10th is assistive technology, also known as AT, disability history. And then on Friday the 11th, it will be a surprise that all you guys will just have to tune in to find out what it is. Also, to spread the word about Disability History Week, is to tweet or blog about it with the hashtags DHW2013 and hashtag #YoDisabledProud.
Thanks, Kirk. And all three of our YO members on the webinar today have participated and continue to work with their local independent living centers on a variety of things. But I wanted to ask each of them to highlight how the local independent living center that they were doing volunteer service with helped them and supported their efforts and continues to support their efforts in getting the disability history campaign going in their community. Let's start with Sara. Sara, how did SBILC in San Jose help you out?
SBILC helped me out because I, along with the community organizer with the Krill and Hayward, planned and implemented a training for teachers to learn about disability history and how the resources such as the lesson plans on the YO website can help them in teaching their students about disability history. During this training, the process of planning and implementing the training, SBILC allowed me to use their community area where the training was held. In addition, I was given office space where I had a computer and telephone to use to contact teachers and invite them to the training, in addition to creating the necessary documents for the training. Finally, they allowed me to use their photocopier, which I was able to make copies of the handouts which we used at the training, or flyers which we used to publicize for the training.
Thank you, Sara. And Jonny, you're a member of the YES group down in Downey in Los Angeles. How has your local independent living center, SCRS, supported you in the efforts in getting into schools?
Yes, so SCRS and we're able to put on a Disability History Week Summit where other youth were able to come and learn about Disability History Week. The summit was put together through a grant that we were provided by CFILC, and it was an awesome opportunity to collaborate with the school district teachers. We get to know each other, we get to show them what we teach, what we present to students, and through that we've been allowed to go into different classrooms with other members from the YES group to present on DHW.
Thank you. And Jamie, you're with Disability Action Network for Youth in Hayward at the Community Resources for Independent Living Center. What do you guys do over there to get disability history Disability History Week out into the schools?
So what we basically do is I'm part of the youth group there, Disability Action Network for Youth. It's called Downey for short, and there's about 10 or 15 youth, and then we all go to schools throughout Hayward, like high schools, and teach the students about disability history, and they really seem to like it, so that's how they help me, and I'm very involved with them in that way too.
Great. And I think that we're really fortunate that YO Disabled and Proud partners with all of the independent living centers that are members of CFILC, the California Foundation for Independent Living Centers. And it's one of the ways that we have really built a connection between youth with disabilities and adults that work at independent living centers to support young leaders in the movement. So I think it's a wonderful opportunity that all three of you have had at your local independent living center. Kirk, do you want to share a little bit about our Disability History poster series?
I would love to. Each year, we have a new poster that comes out for Disability History Week that becomes a part of the Disability History poster series, where there are different themes for each poster dating back to 2010. In 2010, oh, and by the way, even though the poster says 2011, it's supposed to be for 2010. This is our official poster back then, but we just wanted to still show you guys a sample of what it looked like. But the poster series was kicked off with a poster that was developed in memory to the passing of Paul Longmore, which included various historical and diverse leaders throughout history, which included Paul Longmore, of course, Helen Keller, Latina painter Frida Kahlo, 1999 Olmsted plaintiff Lois Curtis, and Ed Roberts. Also, the poster, yeah, that was 2010. For the 2011 poster, the second poster focuses on the Section 504 Rehabilitation Act sit-ins, which took place in San Francisco and ended up leading to the longest occupation of a federal office in U.S. history. And then for the 2012 poster, which was last year, the theme was about Justin Dart and his vision for people now and in the future, which actually led to a really cool and fun poster contest, which resulted in a young lady from Florida winning the contest and receiving an iPad. And this year's poster is not to be forgotten either. The poster theme has been selected and will be previewed to all Yo members next week when it becomes available to the public. So everybody keep an eye out for it.
We promise it'll be exciting. And I also want to just say happy 40th anniversary to Section 504 and the Rehabilitation Act. Today marks the 40th anniversary of that law. And to view those posters, I think Rosemary was going to do a screen share to quickly show you all what they look like. Oh, here we go. Here's the 2010 version. We ended up turning it into a 2011 fact sheet, but you get the idea from the photos up above that Kirk just described. We used basically the top of this fact sheet as a poster in 2010. Here's our 2011 poster, the 504 sit-in, with various photos that we were lucky enough to get from a friend of ours in the community, Anthony Tussler, who had these photos and was a part of the action. And then 2012, here's Angela's winning poster from the poster contest. Here's what she believes Justin Dart would consider the future of his vision of leading on in the disability rights movement. All right, Kirk. Kirk, do you want to share with us some of the ways that you've made Disability History Week happen on campuses at elementary and middle school?
Yes, some of the ways that I've helped get Disability History Week on elementary and middle schools starts with activities that are more fun and engaging for students that are younger age. For an elementary presentation, we've taken a toy character and stuffed doll and did a story time telling activity through the eyes of the doll to make it history, to make it to talk about the history and even more exciting for younger grades. We took a doll, which we named Sally, and Sally ended up being a central character throughout the story time, which included how she was related to Ed Roberts and how he was her great-grandpa and how Justin Dart was Sally's uncle, which all made the presentation extremely exciting and fun for everybody. All the students that were watching the presentation and asking questions, they were very engaged. It was one of the most engaging schools because it was to the whole school that I've been a part of. Afterwards, though, after the storytelling presentation, we ended up playing a game of tic-tac-toe, splitting the auditorium up between students and teachers. which the students ended up loving a lot. Before the presentation, though, we handed out questions to all the students to pay attention for that pop up during the storytelling, such as what was Sally's dog's name, or what school did Ed Roberts attend, what did Ed Roberts help get installed in Berkeley. So that way the information the students were looking for, and at the same time learn because they were paying attention for all these questions, made it beneficial during the game as well. So to play the game of tic-tac-toe, though, each side would have to answer a question, and if they got the answer correct, then they would get the place wherever they would want their X or O. And if they got the answer wrong, then it would go to the other team, and they would be able to try and answer the question, and then they get the X or the O. The results were great, as everyone had a blast playing. The students ended up beating the teachers, and they were ecstatic. There's also a Sesame Street character PowerPoint presentation that was developed by a Yo volunteer that also has a young daughter that makes the presentation interesting and fun for younger students, as well as being more age appropriate as well.
Jonny, do you want to tell us a little bit about what the Disability Leaders Matching Game is all about?
Yes, so the Disabilities Matching Game is one of the activities we do with elementary and middle schools, and it's similar to Go Fit. We have a couple different pictures posted on the board, and we introduce them. But then we also have a paragraph on each person that we read. And we try to choose people who young students will be able to recognize, like Walt Disney, or Justin Timberlake. We're also throwing a couple of leaders like President Roosevelt, all people who have disabilities. And we go around and we have them raise their hands if they know the answer. Another thing that we do is we have different videos on the YouTube channel. Videos can be about Ed Roberts, and Ed Roberts interview that we love to show that really captivate a lot of people to want to know more. We have a video about the teacher in 504. And then all these videos are interactive. They have great information. They're not that long, and they're perfect for a question, and they really seem to enjoy it.
Cool. It's so important to make sure that these presentations that we're doing in the classroom, if the teacher isn't doing them him or herself, that when we're invited in to do it, which we very much like, as people with disabilities, it's cool to be able to go on and do a lesson on our own community and history. It's also very important to make sure that they're relative and interactive and age appropriate, like Jonny and Kirk were saying. You don't want to do something that's going to be boring to a bunch of elementary school students. So making them fun games or adding Sesame Street characters or things like that is a really cool way to get people involved. What are some of the high school and college appropriate activities you've done? Jamie, what do you do over in Alameda?
Basically what I have been doing is like, I have a presentation I do. It highlights kind of Ed Roberts, the ADA, the IEP, Individualized Education Plan, I think it's called. And basically, we teach students in that way, and get them active in that way, and ask them questions. And we cover FDR. Many people didn't know he was in a wheelchair, so when they find out, they're like so surprised. And like we ask them Like, for example, a question we ask the audience is, like, would you ever vote for a person in a wheelchair, why or why not? And then they say yes, because if they do a good job, it doesn't matter on their disability. So we basically get the audience interacted in that way. And same goes for college, really.
Jonny, what about you? Do you do anything different for high school or college students?
No, we pretty much do the same thing. We have the PowerPoint that we've created, which features a bit of everything. We have a couple slides on the leaders. We have a couple slides on the laws that are important, and we have a couple slides on major events. And I think we also play along with it. It goes deep into the Jeopardy game.
Yeah, that's cool. Everybody always loves Disability Jeopardy whenever we do that. Kirk, what about you? I know you have some experience with Disability Jeopardy and some other activities for high school students. What do you like to do when you go out?
The main activities that I like to do when I go out to high schools or colleges revolve more around doing presentations, like with PowerPoints, and always including Disability History Jeopardy. It has become pretty famous, even when I'm not doing a presentation on disability history necessarily, and I'm going somewhere else to do a presentation, people are still requesting to have Disability History Jeopardy played. But the game is played just like Jeopardy. Would be played on TV, several different categories with various point totals. They have fun, interesting facts that relate to the PowerPoint that I do a presentation on. But there's also a few trigger questions that we throw in to try and throw people off. And it's always just a lot of fun doing the presentations. There's always a good reaction, good vibe from doing the presentation, the PowerPoint, and the Disability History Jeopardy. But those are the main things that I end up doing with the high school.
And I know we changed the answers in the questions in Disability Jeopardy, because sometimes if you're doing an all-school assembly or something where you've already used Disability Jeopardy, we change it up so there's no sneakiness happening in the presentation and that it's a fair game. But we also done that one with it, teachers versus students, and like they've all said, it's been a super big hit, really fun. Sara, what has your experience been like in presenting to college students? What have you done?
When I was getting ready to give a presentation at my local community college, I felt comfortable because I was familiar with the settings and I knew many of the people who were attending the presentation. Another helpful thing that I did was I spent some time the night before the presentation practicing it for multiple times, which helped ease my nervousness. The practicing also helped me build confidence, and in general, it made my presentation better.
Cool. And I know you're working on getting some classes to do Disability History Week at San Francisco State University, so we look forward to hearing how that goes. All right, the long-awaited Yo Online lesson plans and resources that we've collected and put into one place. And for those of you watching the webinar, if you know of other resources that aren't in the website that Sara's about to demonstrate and go over for us, please send us an email and let us know if there's other things that exist that you think should be up here on our website. I'm going to turn it over to Sara to do a walkthrough of the website, and I think Rosemary's going to click us over to the tour. All right, Sara, it looks like we're up and running.
Thank you. So the first section that you'll come across once you're on the website, on the Disability History Week section of the website, is articles and other online resources. In this section, you will find websites and articles related to disability culture, disability history, and important people who were involved in the disability rights movement. It also gives a general overview and background about the movement. So if you notice, the first link on your right is a link to the article which Christina mentioned earlier in the presentation regarding simulation exercises. My personal favorite out of all the links in this section is the Ed Roberts Independent Living Movement link because it is filled with interesting facts and it has a lot of cool information about Ed Roberts and the great things that he has done for our community. As you scroll down, the second section you'll come across is the Disability History Curriculum. The resources found in this section are structured in a format which makes it easy for educators to use with their students. This section has sample curriculum that could be implemented in a classroom for students in grades K through 12. You may also find in this section, you may find the disability history timeline, the disability history timeline as a useful tool to use in your classroom. The final section which you will come across on this website is the disability history video. This section has a lot of different video clips which allows you to use visual aids in teaching disability history to students. My personal favorite in this section is the ADA signing ceremony clip.
And last but not least, if you're an educator, we provide free Disability History Week posters to those of you who register your classes on our website. So if you look at the yellow tab that I'm on the website, Join and Register Your School, if you hit that, you'll come across a short form, and it allows us to collect your information and send you out a disability history poster. You can also get additional disability history posters by going to the Yo store up here on the Yo website in the right-hand corner and ordering other posters. We typically send out last year's poster as the free poster to teachers, but if you'd like this year's poster or other posters that we've shared with you throughout this presentation, you're welcome to order one of those as well. I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint now and ask Kirk to share a little bit about the statistics and data we've collected since the Disability History Week passage.
Yes, the impact of Disability History Week being taught has been amazing over the last couple of years. Starting back in 2011, there have been 28 schools that were registered and taught about disability history, which included 3 elementary schools, 7 middle schools, 10 high schools, 8 colleges. In 2012, there ended up being 26 new schools that are reached and learned about disability history. That included 2 elementary schools, 3 middle schools, 10 high schools, and 11 colleges. With reaching out to all these schools, we've educated over 160,000 disabled and non-disabled students during Disability History Week that has spanned across the state, including cities such as El Dorado Hills, Seaside, San Gabriel, Palo Alto, Los Altos Hills, Kempsfield, Fremont, Oakland, Santa Clara, Pico Rivera, Mission Viejo, Whittier, Fullerton, San Francisco, Hayward, Windsor, Montebello, San Marcos, San Rafael, Pleasanton, Pacifica, Bellflower, Chula Vista, and Manhattan Beach. Also, each school that registers for Disability History Week receives a free DHW poster and thank you for supporting us card.
And I think that although, thank you, Kirk, although that looks like a pretty big number, or maybe it looks like a small number to some people, we still have a long way to go in California in educating teachers that Disability History Week exists. And so your help is really what we need in making sure that we're getting the word out and encouraging teachers to register on our website. And even if they don't register on our website, just to honor and use the resources available to teach disability history in their classroom is really what we really ultimately want to see happen across schools in California. One of the really important pieces of the presentations and exercises and activities that the YO members are doing in schools is collecting feedback and evaluations. And Jonny's group down in Los Angeles has done a really great job in collecting feedback. And I asked Jonny if he would share a little bit about how that feedback has helped him and his group down in Los Angeles improve their presentation and activities for the following year. Jonny, you want to share a little bit about the importance of evaluation?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Christina. So evaluations are important because we like to know how well over time we do. What people found interesting, what they found boring, because that allows us to perfect our presentation for the following meetings. Some of the quotes we have meetings is I was inspired to learn more about Disability History Month, making it interactive with the game, really get us all engaged. I learned a lot throughout this week. It made me look at disabled people differently. Not in a special way, but as equal. And another senior said that it was one of the most entertaining assemblies they've attended. So, feedback like that helps us know what's helping what's good. Because we do want to make it fun and educational at the same time.
Great. And a lot of what we've shared with you today is really activities and work that comes out of the Youth-Led Disability History Week Coalition that is supported by YO Disabled and Proud. So I want to invite Kirk to give us a little bit of information about the Disability History Week Coalition.
Yeah, definitely. Right now, I bet all of you guys are wondering how all this works by now, aren't you? Well, we have a coalition that is open to youth across California between the ages of 16 and 28, and is completely youth-led and driven with leadership teams and monthly calls, as well as setting up annual goals that we work towards all year. Sara, would you like to share how the structure of the coalition is?
Thank you, Kirk. So in the coalition, there are 5 leadership positions, which make up a leadership team. The coalition leadership team positions are important because it gives us the youth, a way to take responsibility as youth leaders and provide support to others who are a part of the campaign. Even though there is a leadership team, everyone on the coalition is expected to contribute to the work and goals of the campaign. It took us a while to establish a leadership team, but when we were able to finally work it out, it was beneficial for the organizers because everyone was able to understand who was responsible for creating the meeting agenda or taking the meeting minutes or facilitating the meeting or other logistics which are important for the campaign. In addition, we also created a position for an adult ally because we felt it was really important to have the help and support when we needed, but the adult ally has to be selected by the coalition members, so it can't just be some random adult who wants to get involved in the coalition, as we would like the coalition members to be comfortable with the individual and have a relationship with them.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sara. Jonny, can you fill us in on how the meetings are run and what type of activities we do and work on?
Yes. So the meetings are put together by the chair and the co-chair of the campaign. They have set up the agenda and then we send it out to the leadership team when it's the leadership call, and then to our young members for the campaign calls. And on the campaign calls, we can just see where everyone's at with different projects. A lot of the people who create these calls help put together the toolkits. So, you can just up to date on what everyone's doing, how many schools they have gotten to commit to the W or any upcoming presentations they may have, as well as answer any questions that people have about the campaign.
Awesome. Thank you, Jonny. And to close up the slide about the coalition annual goals, for our annual coalition goals that we create, there are a new group of leaders that are elected every year in February to lead the campaign for the following year. But before we jump straight into action, we get together and create the annual goals that help keep us on track for what we want to work towards and want to accomplish for Disability History Week, such as a few of our goals this year that include registering 30 to 35 new schools, creating a flyer, and updating our toolkit with new materials. So if you can please support us by registering on the Yo website to honor Disability History Week at your school, it will greatly help us in reaching our goal.
So the next slide, are we on? Wait.
Yes.
Yes, sorry. My blackboard was a bit behind. But yes, the next thing we have is for the Disability History Week regional celebration party. I continue to say at the beginning, it's important to prioritize fun and to prioritize party time when working with us youth. We need to have fun. And one of the ways we have fun is if we meet all of our goals as a campaign, as a team, then we get to have these regional parties. On the left, you will see a picture of the northern regional party that was held earlier this year, and on the right you see there's a picture from the southern party. And at these parties we have different things going on. People having fun, people talking, people taking funny pictures of things, or even playing against each other some of the disability history games. And this is also a good way to get new members involved and to get new members to join the coalition for the following planning year. So we've had some pretty good turnouts both in the northern and the southern U.S.
Jamie, do you want to add anything about the party that has happened in Northern California?
Sure. Basically, any party is good. But the party was fun. We do the party to basically like celebrate our accomplishment, invite others, teach them about the Disability History Week campaign, find new members, and we just get together as a as the disabled community as one and celebrate like all the accomplishments like we did during Disability History Week. So basically just like celebrating it. It's very fun. It's like I'm in one big family when I come there, and we can just have fun together because I know most of the people, and so feel like there's a better sense of belonging.
Cool, thank you. So are there any questions from the audience? Anyone on the phone have a question that they want to ask any of our presenters today? Anyone on the webinar want to ask any questions? Okay, well, we want to conclude by asking you to support Disability History Week. There's a variety of ways that you can support our efforts, and you could, if you're a teacher or you know of a teacher, you can sign up to honor Disability History Week through the website like we've shown you. If you're a youth, you could sign up to join the coalition by contacting Kirk at kirk@cfilc.org. He'll get you in touch with the coalition leadership team and make sure that you're a part of the next teleconference meeting. You can educate your school about Disability History Week and refer them to the online resources or to our office to get more information. We'll also connect them with their local independent living center and make sure that they have local resources around disability history available. You could share Disability History Week information with your friends, whether they have a disability or not. It's just really cool for people to know that our community has a very rich history and an important history that should be shared with all. You could participate in a Disability History Week regional party celebration. And if you want to let us know that you're interested in learning more but want to do it in a social way, you're welcome to join the end of the year celebration parties that happen both in the north and in the south of California. And last but not least, if you like the work that we're doing, you can always make a donation to the Yo Disabled and Proud program through the Yo store by either donating to get a previous Disability History Week poster or any of our other Yo Disabled and Proud swag for our campaigns and for our program. I want to thank everybody for joining today, and especially thank the presenters that came on after school to help us make this happen. Jonny, thank you so much for joining us from Los Angeles. Sara, thank you. Jamie, thank you very much. And Kirk, thank you. All of them have their emails listed right here on the slide where you can get a hold of them. And you're also welcome to contact us at the Yo Disabled and Proud office for additional information. If you're not a fan of ours on Facebook, please like our page and follow us on Twitter or on Instagram. We just recently opened our Instagram page, and we will be Instagramming many of our October activities that are coming up. Again, thank you all for participating, and I hope you gained a lot of information today, and we look forward to hearing from you and learning more about what you're doing in your communities in the future.